Welcome back to Brambleberry. Gonna try and move this chicken coop along a little further today. If you want to watch, then stick around. So right here is the hole that I left and cut through the chicken wire there to put nesting boxes. So the goal today is to try and get some nesting boxes built on this. I've been watching lots of videos about how people do theirs, and I think I have some ideas. I wanted to, of course, hang off. I want to have access from the outside to collect eggs, and if possible, I'm going to try and make it so that it's a roll away, so that the eggs roll out whenever the hens lay. That way they're not tempted to peck at them or whatever, you know, and we can collect the eggs. So let's see what I can come up with. So I've got some 2x4s, and what are these? 2x3s, I believe. And my current thinking is that I'm going to use 2x4s, a little bit on this, maybe around the base of it so it's a little stronger, but then use these to frame it out so that it's not quite as heavy. But we'll see kind of how that works out. So the other thing I was just thinking as I'm trying to plan all this out in my head is that it would be nice to have an extra access point. I don't know, maybe when we're like cleaning out the coop or something. We're planning on doing a deep litter method, so that will only be happening, you know, not every day, but periodically. So it'd be nice if whatever I put in here, I could set in and attach and then pull back out, so we have this big opening, you know, pull a wheelbarrow up or the ATV or whatever and be able to shovel stuff out. I don't know if I can do that or not. More thinking to do. There is my initial frame for the floor. This is 20 inches. I did that to give room for a nesting box and for the roll-away space. Hopefully that's enough. And then, so I'm going to attach that on. Probably going to pull it up like so, let it overhang just a little bit in there. But then get this kind of leveled out. And then I'm thinking for the actual floor, I'm going to build a separate piece that fits inside there with probably like this hardware cloth on it, and make it so that it pivots so that I can adjust the angle to what we want it to be to let the eggs roll back. And that I'll probably make out of those smaller 1x3s, not 2x3s, instead of the 2x4s, and that'll give it a little bit of room in there to adjust. And I think actually for now I'm going to abandon the idea of taking this or making this be removable. It's just going to be too heavy and pain in the butt. I can always cut out a hole or something later if I want to. We are going to have a human door on the inside. I just thought it would be easier to not have to go through the run. But whatever. Let's get this attached. What are you doing, Rory Cat? What are you doing, little girl? You gonna say hi to the fine folks out there on YouTube? She's getting bigger. I said I was gonna level this, but I changed my mind. Just gonna eyeball it. Nothing in here is level anyway. And I'll put an extra screw or two just since this is hanging off of that. So the interior here, the length is, or width or whatever, is 36 7/8, and then this way it came out to 17 inches. So I already got one board cut that's going to span from here to here, and then that I got to do a board to fit between them that's going to be 17 minus the thickness of two of these, and a little bit smaller so that it can rotate in there without getting caught up on the edge of this. By a little bit smaller, I'm thinking maybe 1/8 of an inch. Not a whole lot. I want it to be pretty tight because obviously I don't want things to be able to get up in there. So I was at 17 inches. I'm going to subtract 3 for the thickness of the boards. And that gets me to 14. And I'm going to go down another 1/8. So we're going to do like 13 and 1/8 of an inch for that interior piece. So I need 2 of those for the ends. All right, got it all together. Let's see if it fits. Looks like it does. Fairly snug, but room to rotate in there. I don't think there needs to be much of an angle, but I still don't know what I want that to be, so I guess probably what I'm going to do is put one screw on each side up here and then let it pivot on that, and then I can raise and lower this end as I want, and when I get to the angle I want, I can zip screws in the side. But first I want to put some a bottom on this. I probably am going to put some middle supports too. I probably should have made at least one, maybe a couple more of those, and then I can put some hardware cloth on it. Yeah, I guess that's what's next. And there we are with the extra cross bracing in. And I think I've been kind of going back and forth about the hardware cloth. I think I'm gonna actually have it be on the bottom so it makes like little boxes here for the eggs to catch. And then I'll, you know, probably line this, especially down here, with something soft so that it doesn't break the eggs when they roll down and hit. Well, I didn't really plan for this, but it kind of worked out that this little piece of hardware cloth I had was just the right width for this thing. And I didn't have staples or anything, so I'm just using what I got, some galvanized nails to hook that on there. I got to put a few more in on top, but before I do that, I need to cut this rest of this roll off of here. I used to do that with snips. Cutoff wheel's the way to go if you ever need to cut some of that stuff, just saying. So what I'm doing there is just kind of burying it down into the wood a bit. Don't know if you have to do that. That's just what I'm doing. Seems like it'll be a little more secure that way maybe. And that's what it'll look like. Seems pretty secure to me. So if you care to know, I'm using 3-inch screws on that, and I just left a little bit sticking out so it wouldn't be too tight on there, and that way I can move it back and forth as I want. And as I said before, once I find the angle, I'll zip a screw in, probably from, well, it doesn't really matter what side it comes from, but just to hold that at whatever angle I want it to be. And now I gotta figure out the rest of the framing and how I want this to look. There's gonna be part of this that's covered here, like with its own little trap door. I guess like if I'm putting a door there to gather eggs, I really don't necessarily need anything to open up here, but I guess it could be helpful to be able to get to the nesting boxes from outside. Although you could come on the inside. I guess I could just put a, a static, I don't know if that's the right term for that, but a a roof on it that doesn't hinge or anything. More decisions, more thoughts, more planning. So whatever I do, I'm gonna have to make sure that the roofing goes back under here a bit, because I want water to, if it hits the side of this, to come down and shed off and not go in the coop. So that's a concern. Also, I got to make sure that I get enough of this covered here to hide the eggs from the birds so that they can't get to them. I got to figure that out as well. Well, I've been doing a lot of guessing and cutting. I guess I better show you progress before I get too far here. So I got this outer frame put on. I got a piece nailed up here, or screwed on up there. I don't think I'm gonna be so worried about the water coming down the side. Hopefully there'll be enough of an overhang up here to prevent much of that, unless we get a blowing rain or something. And then what I'm gonna do next is, I've got a bunch of these shorter pieces marked out and cut. So I'm gonna put one on each side here to frame that out and that out, like so. The outside's gonna get more of that stuff, and the top's gonna be that as well. I'm gonna use more of these on the inside here, coming out, probably 3 of them, and then screw down a piece of that metal. This will have hinges up here to open up. And as is the way of building on the fly, I changed my mind a bit. So I got these supports on, and instead of just doing 3 of those and putting a hinge on each one, I think I'm gonna do 1 on each end, and then make longer pieces, 1 to go here and 1 to go here, and then hinge off of that somehow. I think that'll be a little less flimsy that way. And there's the frame for the lid. It's got a screw in there for it to sit on right now, but it will hinge up like so when I put hinges on it. At least that's the idea. I just use really long screws and zipped in there. What are these? 4-inch screws. Helps when you're using the 2x3s instead of the 2x4s for this little stuff, and you have some longer screws like that on hand. So I guess the next order of events here is to get some hinges put on. I'm probably just gonna use my good old door hinges, dollar door hinges, and put on there. All right, we got that lid framed up and on hinges. Next up, I'm gonna get some siding put on, I think, and also some of that metal on this for a roof. Well, we got the siding on the way around, and I was about to start on the roof piece, but then I've worn down my last cutoff wheel. So I'm gonna have to pause there. We'll see if this is the end of this video. Probably not. I may finish this before the week's out. My hope is actually this week to get the whole chicken coop finished, but you know how that goes. You make plans and things don't happen the way you plan. So we'll just see what happens. If this is the end of the video, then thanks for watching. Have a blessed day.